I am so excited about today's guest. We get to work together in a multitude of ways. We started by writing songs together. We're going to talk about that. Now our company gets to also represent and manage her. She just had a brand new album out. I'm holding it in my hands, the LP, the vinyl. Her new album, Rebel, just came out, and today we're going to get to talk to her about how her life has been ever since the record came out. Crazy good stuff. God's using her in a big way. Let's go to the Story House with Ann Wilson, whose merch I'm wearing. You've been preaching the passion for Jeeps ever since I've known you. You love your Jeep.
I love my Jeep.
What's your Jeep's name?
Morgan. After Morgan Wallen.
Oh, come on. But Morgan's been known to get in some wrecks.
Yeah, yes.
So that's not a prophetic word over your tongue.
No, just the name.
But your whole family loves Jeeps? What's
we've all got Jeeps. I think it's just
that's a country thing.
It's a country thing, and you can off-road with them, and we can take them on the farm, and they look cool when they get dirty. And
your Jeep looks cool.
Thank you. I love it.
Morgan looks cool.
Thank you.
Is that your dream car?
Yes. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I saw a Jeep for the first time. I'll never forget this day. It was like a hot pink Jeep, and I literally remember saying to my mom and dad, like, that's my dream car.
Seriously?
And I got it in 2022, so 2 years ago.
But yours isn't hot pink, so the dream changed slightly.
The dream changed, and I got a truck. So instead of the Wrangler, I got like a truck, so I could have more room for like all my luggage and stuff and all the things.
And it's everything you hoped it would be.
And it's everything I hoped it would be. And it's the army green color because it's just like, I don't know. I think it's just more of a vibe than the pink.
And the whole family has Jeeps almost.
Yes, we all do.
Your sister.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mom, Dad.
Emily wanted my wife for her birthday. I said, what do you want? She's like, I just want to drive a Jeep for the day. Aww. So I rented a Jeep for the weekend. And you saw you
guys looked like you had so much fun.
We had a blast. Yeah.
Are you going to get one?
You were saying I look tan. It's because we were like driving out.
I love it.
I mean, I know Kentucky. I want to talk about how beautiful Kentucky is because that will always be your home.
Yeah.
But like Tennessee's got some beautiful country too, right?
Where'd you go?
Man, we went out past, so obviously like Leaper's Fork.
Mm-hmm. So
have you spent?
I go to Leaper's Fork a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
But then if you keep driving way past Leaper's Fork, we probably drove for 2.5 hours that day. And we were out in parts of Tennessee I'd never been before. And then eventually we got on the Natchez Trace Parkway.
So
have you driven that?
Yes.
It's so peaceful.
Beautiful. They have good hikes over there too.
Yeah. You don't hike, do you?
I love hiking.
How do I not know this about you?
I don't know. Do it in my off time.
Do you?
I do.
We don't really ever give you any off time.
Not like hiking boots. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not going to go like hike. But like I'll go like on a trail.
Okay, well here's the test of if you're like a hiker. Do you have one of those little tubes that you're drinking water out? No. I couldn't see you doing that. But you just like to go for a nice hike with regular sneakers on.
Yes.
There's some good trails by my house.
Yeah, there are. Love them.
In fact, I'm not proud of this, but one time I went across, it's not far from where we live. So I went across the street from where we live, went on this trail. And it turned out to be the hottest day of the summer. And I wasn't paying attention. And I told Emily I'd be back like in an hour because I had this route, that I figured. Well, this particular day I was feeling really good. I was like, I'm going to go left at the sign instead. And I got lost on my hike.
Oh my gosh.
And I was somewhere in the woods.
That's horrible.
Completely dehydrated and like only a few miles from my house, but I couldn't figure out how to get back to my house.
That's horrible.
So I had to get once I got cell service, I had to call my wife and have her try to find me. I found like some sort of like gravel road, and she's like, where are you? I'm like, I don't know, but I need you to come and pick me up. So finally I found like somebody who was hiking past me, and they helped me get to I felt like a little helpless old lady
hilarious.
Or something. So don't hike with me because I'll get you lost. Hey, what do you think of my shirt today?
I love it. Looks so good.
The Ann Wilson swag. You have awesome merch.
Thank you.
Tell me about how this gets created.
My sister works with a designer and they work together to create it.
It's awesome.
And I love it because she has been involved like with my branding from day one, even before I had music out. And so she's really good about kind of seeing like a vision and bringing it to life. And so I like the colors too, like the orange and the blue together. And
it's like, and you just have a real eye for it. You and your sister both, but this is the Strong shirt.
Yes.
And we're wearing this in celebration of your song Strong going number one.
I can't
and your brand new album that just came out, Rebel.
So exciting.
I got the vinyl right here. Look how cool this picture is too.
Oh, I know. I love that color.
Usually it's the cover picture's the coolest.
Dress. Yeah.
This is a cool picture. And then it's like, oh, there's probably no more cool pictures.
That one's really
Get ready.
cool.
Look
I know.
at that one.
Wyoming. I can't believe it's always been a year since we went.
Let's talk about that. First of all, congratulations on your new album releasing.
Thank you.
The first time you were on the show, that episode was one of the most popular episodes of the whole show.
I remember that.
And you,
were
so
we
you're
in there?
back. Welcome
we
back.
We were in that little room, I think.
I think we maybe were in the. I decided to forget about like sonic quality and just bring the podcasts out into where we usually make the music.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's more of a, as you might say, more of a vibe.
Yeah, more of a vibe.
But since the last time you were on the show, that's not the last time I've talked to you. I pretty much talk to you every day because we get to work together.
Yeah.
And
it's amazing.
I'm so proud of you and so excited for all that's been taking place. But your new album, Rebel, that you've been working on. You worked on this for months and months and months. And folks, I know this full well because I saw the work that you put in. So speaking of off time, you haven't had much time to hike because you've been busy.
Yes.
Going in the studio, writing songs, going in the studio, meetings, interviews, music video shoots, the Today Show.
Yeah.
What am I missing?
Crazy. I don't even know. I can't keep up. It's amazing.
And
so much happens.
It's incredible.
It's so cool.
But today I want to talk about like how this experience has been compared to releasing your first album, My Jesus, to now releasing your second album, Rebel, which came out on April 19th.
Yes.
Let's talk about how you got to celebrate the release of your album on album release day. Where were you?
The Today Show in New York City. I told you, I was like, what you were like, you asked me like, what would be your dream way of celebrating the album? And I was like, the Today Show. And you said, out of all the shows, what would it be? And I was like, the Today Show. And then when you called me to tell me that I was going to be on it, I was just blown away. And it was so cool. I grew up watching the Today Show my whole life. But I think just to be there on the day the album came out was just like, I mean, beyond my wildest dreams. Like I could have never dreamed that up as a kid. And celebrating and singing Rebel, the title track, it was just like really, really fun to do. And
I know, I think what's awesome about you is you're how old are you?
22.
See, I'm asking questions I already know the answer to. But you're only 22, but like when you get on stage, like you're so composed and you're so professional. And people probably watched you on the Today Show and thought, man, she's just feeling awesome and celebrating the release of her album. The way that you handled that was so incredible.
Thank you.
What people might not realize is what you were going through behind the scenes on the morning of your record release.
Yeah.
Talk about how you were actually feeling physically.
I had been sick for a few weeks and was totally back to normal, better. And then all of a sudden I woke up that day and basically had laryngitis, or what I thought was laryngitis. I couldn't sing. I had no voice. And I woke up and went to sound check, and the producers were like, we really need you to sing so we have like an extra take for audio. And I was like 5 in the morning, and I was like, I literally can't sing. Like I need to get on the phone with my vocal coach. I can't sing. And then got back to the hotel and was with you and just was crying and like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Like I literally don't know how I'm gonna get on the Today Show and sing. And I just prayed and prayed, and I had a ton of people praying, and I like finally was able to get to a place where I could somewhat sing and push through the song, and just thought, I'm going to give it my all. And if I lose my voice because of this, even worse, then so be it. Like I have to do this, So it was a scary moment to be like on such a big, the Today Show in such a big moment, and then to not be able to sing. Like it was very scary. And I had so much coming that weekend too, that I had to cancel and stuff.
Yeah. Would you say it was almost like, obviously there was more sweet than bitter, but even the release of your album, which you'd been looking forward to for months and months and months, was not without obstacles. And obviously, like you were a champion through it, but like people might not have realized behind the scenes that like, and I felt so helpless. Like I was there, mom and dad were there, and like that morning of the Today Show, like you want to feel your best.
I know.
And sometimes you don't. And in moments like that, like, how do you go from like, okay, you were upset that morning, you're wondering if you're going to have a voice, and then you get on stage, like, what's going on in your like conversation with God on mornings like that or days like that, where it's like, I don't think people realize the pressure that a singer feels when they go to sing and the voice just isn't there, and they physically
it's like whatever you do for a living and then all of a sudden it's gone. Like if you were like, you know, a teacher and all of a sudden you didn't have a voice to teach, or you were a doctor and you didn't have hands to like do the surgeries, or it's like the equivalent to that.
Yeah.
It's like you literally don't have the one thing you need to do your job, which is to sing or to talk. And it was really scary. But I remember just thinking in my head, like the whole time, like, God, you're gonna come through. And I had it, my uncle was texting me, he's a pastor, and he just texted me this sweet reminder that was like, I promise you, your voice will be there when you need it. God's got you. And it was. And I just kept believing God's got me. Like, it's gonna be okay. I also just, because I do this for Jesus, like it does take a weight off, because I remind myself that I'm doing this for his glory. So like if I don't have a voice, then I don't know, maybe he just doesn't want me singing that day or something, you know? Like, I think when you can like remind yourself of why you do it, it takes the pressure off. And for me, it was just reminding myself that I'm doing it for him. So he clearly has a plan somehow in this, that maybe he's trying to teach me something. Or I kind of got to the point where I remember thinking maybe this whole thing was for him to remind me that I don't have control over my life.
Yeah.
And that he's trying to teach me like that he's in control and I need to trust him. And so that's what I ended up doing over the weekend with all the things we had to cancel. I just said, God, I guess you're reminding me that you're in control here and that I don't have the reins over my life.
So what did it feel like when here you are, like, it's okay, this is the weekend you've been looking forward to, you've been working so much on this record. We had a special hometown concert booked that you were going to play at the Lexington Opera House in Lexington, Kentucky. We had to cancel that. It was going to be a live stream. I know you enough to know that you were struggling with not only feeling like you're not in control, but also that feeling of, I'm letting people down. Yeah. And I could see that in you. Yeah. And what does that feel like to know, or what did you feel like God was saying to you about that in those moments where it's like, who's your real audience? And because I feel like people, first of all, everything we had to cancel and postpone was like, everybody was supportive. Yeah. And others, did you feel that support more than like, oh man, they're disappointed in you? I
did. And I think because it was a hometown show and a lot of family and friends, I think they understood. And I think you do get to a point where you realize like we're all just human. And so there's going to be things that come up, and like, I can't help that my voice was gone, you know? And I think people were understanding, but it was really hard for me because I hate letting people down, and I hate the feeling of disappointing people. And I don't know, it was just like so hard, like out of all this work and everything we've done, that it was going to get canceled. And all these people that, you know, had planned to come travel hours to Lexington. There were some people driving 8 hours to come see me, and people flying in from the West Coast. It was just like all that was canceled. I felt so bad. But I think it was just, I really feel like God reminded me during that and through all those moments that, you know, my audience is him, and like I'm here to please him and not people. And so I just kept going back to, he clearly had a plan in me not having a voice. Like he either wanted me to just be home that weekend and rest and maybe like enjoy the album coming out more than I would have if I had been on the road. Yeah. Or whatever the reasoning was. It's like, I don't know. But I love that because we have faith in Jesus, we know there's a greater plan, versus if all being for my glory, like I would think about how much worse that would be, you know? But because we have like the perspective that Jesus is in control, we can be at peace with it. And I really felt peace at the end of it. Yeah. If your identity was found only in who you are as a singer, then when you lose your voice, you lose your identity. Yeah. And I did for a second, for sure. But I know deep down, like, you know, where your true identity is found. And that comes through in every song that you put out. And it comes through. And I always think too, it's like, it's funny. I don't know that there's ever been like a moment in my career where, like, as much as it was built up to be like, this is going to be the most amazing thing, there was always at least something that made it less than perfect, almost to remind me that there isn't perfect in this world. Lest we get too comfortable down here, like we, you know what I mean? To keep our eyes on heaven as the ultimate, you know what I mean? So even so true. And then in spite of all that, you wind up having the #1 album in the country. Yes. And you got to celebrate that. And then like, so it was like cool. #2 on country, and like crazy
streaming numbers.
So insane.
Strong
so
goes number 1 the week the record goes out.
I know. So it was really sweet.
Kind of like a roller coaster of emotions for you, right?
Yeah, but I feel like it ended up working out, and it was just like it was a really good reminder, and to just with moments being like super cool moments in your career like that. Like I think it reminds me that there's nothing more like amazing than just literally just being a child of God. And so like even in moments like that, when I feel like this big moment couldn't happen, oh, my identity is gone because I couldn't sing and whatever, it's like God reminds me like the sweetest thing is just being his, and like all that will fade away. But because I have like a heavenly perspective, as we all should, and especially because my brother passed away, I'm reminded that like nothing is greater than him being pleased with me. And so like I think that's what I took out of the whole weekend. And now I can look back on it. Like as sad as it was having to cancel those things, it was an incredible weekend. All the streaming numbers and all the stories I've heard from the songs and stuff, like it was still amazing, and it's been really cool to see. You
mentioned your brother just a second ago, and when we first met, you shared your story with me about the loss of your brother and best friend Jacob, and I know how much his life has impacted your life, not just your music, but your life and your whole platform.
Yeah.
And I've heard you talk, and I was really inspired to hear you talk about how, like, your first record, you were in one place in your life, and in terms of like dealing with the loss of your brother. And like, I'm curious, as you approached your second record, I feel like Jacob is just as much a part. It's like he's a part of everything you do musically.
Yeah.
But you know, I think of songs like Rain in the Rearview that we've talked about, and songs like Strong or whatever. It's like, it felt like you were, there's not a day goes by, if I know something about you, there's not a day goes by that you don't think about your brother and miss him every day. And yet there's like a putting a one foot in front of the other. Like it felt you were approaching this record.
Yeah.
You're at a different place in your life, even as you have dealt with the loss of your brother. Is that right? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the last record, My Jesus, my first album was, you know, I was brand new to the music industry. I had never thought I would do music, you know, never dreamed I would do it. And like, then all these incredible opportunities come, and I signed a record deal at 17, and like God opens these doors, and it was all fresh after Jacob died. But then this album was like multiple years had gone by. It'd been 6 years when we wrote the album last summer. It had been 6 years since he had died. And so it was like almost a healed version of me in a way. Like I was just kind of moving towards what it looked like to put one foot forward in front of the other. Because I think I realized early on that I could either sit in pity and grief, which you still do sit in grief. Sure. It's like a constant thing. But I could sit in pity and grief and sit there and just continue to say, oh, I wish he was, you know, I had him, but it's like I can't change anything. And so for me, it was like I have to keep moving forward. And that's what this album was like, clearly God has called me to music. I'm doing this for his glory. I'm doing it to honor Jacob, but like, what does this new album look like? And it was just like, okay, I got to keep going. And I think that's what the album kind of says, you know. And it too, it's like a new idea too. It's like introducing this rebel idea and stepping away from or kind of stepping forward from the last album into a different direction. And there's still like every song has something to do with him, you know, because I mean, I feel I wouldn't be singing if it hadn't been for the loss of him. But there are a couple songs on the album, Dirt Roads in Heaven, that talks about him, which I love.
That feels like Jacob's song, doesn't it?
Yes.
On this record.
Yeah, we actually wrote that in here with
That's
Nicole
right,
Gallion
here at the Story House.
Jeff Pardo. Yeah, I was thinking about that today when I walked in. But
I'm gonna the lyrics. I'm gonna need a place to roll down all the windows.
Yeah, somewhere to sing along my radio. So good.
Somewhere what?
Somewhere to go to count up all my blessings. That's how I know there's dirt roads in heaven.
Somewhere to run around with my old dog Hank.
Yes.
Too, right?
Wildflowers.
Yeah, such beautiful colors.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Although you said, I think there's something. If I get there and they got one, I'm gonna put my
Chevy
Jeep on.
I know, I should have changed it.
But we needed 2 syllables.
We did, unfortunately. You know, it's funny. I think in my album, I have like a Ford, Chevy, and Jeep references. There you go. All in the same album.
Well, that's why whatever car company wants to sponsor you.
We'll take any of them.
No, but I was thinking too, just like on a personal note, but like I feel like the segue from your first album to your second album, there were a couple songs that were segues. You did a movie, a song for the movie Jesus Revolution, but then a song called 7th of June, which, again, is a song that's really in honor of your brother.
Yeah.
Tell me why the 7th of June will always be special to you, and also why we have that day marked off on your calendar forever.
Yeah, that's the day that Jacob passed away, and it'll be 7 years this June, which is crazy. And it was such a traumatic time in my life, and it was a day that really marked, I think, a new chapter for me. I was 15 when he died, which is insane, and now I'm 22, so like the amount of things that have happened in 7 years has been crazy. But I think when he passed away, just so much changed. Obviously, God called me to music. I started singing. I sang at his funeral for the first time in front of anyone, and you would come on the road with Jeff when I was on tour with Casting Crowns in 2022. And I had that title because I wanted to write that. I didn't know what it was going to be about, but I just wanted to write the day. And I remember I was like taking off my makeup in my dressing room, and you all like came in and you had like started the song. And I remember you sitting and playing it for me. And I was just like holding back tears. Like it was everything I wanted to say and more. And you perfectly like described it, what it was, and kind of what life is like without your loved ones. Because I remember having this moment of realizing like there's so many songs about heaven, and that's amazing and beautiful, but there's so few songs about reality on this side, when
like it comes to losing someone.
As we're sitting here right now, we're not in heaven yet. Like, that's our hope, but what does it look like to be on this side in the pain and the suffering without your loved ones?
I go out walking, I ain't much for talking, just thinking and crying and praying and trying to make sense of what don't make sense in this life, and why you're up there and not here by my side. Yeah. They say it's going to be easier. And
I want to believe
believe that's true. It's just harder on the 7th of June. I mean, to me, it's like I go, that's a song only Ann Wilson can sing. But it's a song that everybody, in addition to Ann Wilson, can relate to. Yeah. Because what I noticed too is when you put that song up, people come up to you and say, "My 7th of June is," and then they'd give you a date. Totally. One of the sweetest moments I saw when you were out on tour with Scotty McCreery, it was your first country tour, which I want to talk about that too, was, this little girl comes up to you and she's holding your My Jesus book, which is available everywhere. And she's crying, and she was telling you that she lost her brother, and I watched you hug her, and you guys shared a moment, a common bond that nobody wants to have, but a common bond of grief and loss. And yet you being willing to share your story opens up a place in that person's heart to find some healing and learn how to move forward too. What has that meant for you since you started your singing career, to see that, okay, wait a minute, the more vulnerable I am, the more honest I am, even like with a statement like Rebel, which we're going to get to, like the more you put yourself out there, you see people respond to that honesty and that vulnerability, and they go, me too. Totally. What does that mean to see people connect on that deep of a level with the story that you tell through your music?
It means a lot to me. It reminds me of why I do what I do, but it's like this continuous picture of God, taking this tragedy of Jacob dying and bringing it into something beautiful. And so when I hear stories like that, it's just a kind of like a moment of thanking God that he would choose me and my family and use the story of brokenness and use it in such a big way to impact so many lives. Like, it's been really cool. But it is like, it's such a sweet thing to be able to share that moment with people like that only we can understand each other. And specifically that little girl with her losing her brother, it was just like we had that moment together of like just what we've been through, and it's almost like we're kind of holding hands and linking arms for the rest of this life.
And she'll never forget that moment.
And it was sweet. And I think every moment like that truly means the world to me. People always, and I know they say this to you too, like, I know you hear a million stories, when people say that to you, and it's like they almost like don't want to even share it because they think you've heard so many that it's not going to mean anything to you. But I'm always like, no, I want to hear your stories. Like, message me on Instagram, like on social media. I read those stories, I really do. That's good. I love hearing them because it reminds us of why we do what we do.
That's amazing. So like when I think of the rebels of this world, like I think of like, maybe they've got some face tattoos or like Jelly Roll or something. Totally. You don't have any face tattoos.
No, I don't have any tattoos.
Is that something in your future?
No. Could you imagine?
but you are a rebel, and you're paving a new road. And I want to talk about like because this is not just a clever title. Like this is like steeped in like real and steeped in like conviction for you, and you know what your why is. Yeah. And it's taken shape over the last few years. But you started out known in Christian music. My Jesus Breaks, Sunday Sermons, Hey Girl, all these songs come out to Christian music primarily. Yeah. But people were starting to take notice of your music outside of Christian music, and it was pretty country sounding. I think I remember when we first started writing together, like I could see that like there was this, she loves country music, but maybe she doesn't feel quite like she can do that. But that record was leaning country. Yeah, totally. And Christian radio or Christian music, it was kind of like, is she more country? Confused. And you were kind of going, I love country music, but I love singing about Jesus. Yeah. And how was it that kind of made you feel a little bit like an outsider or a rebel? Yeah, I think it did, because up until this point, from what I grew up on Christian radio. Like that's literally and country music, but Christian radio. And I remember like up to this point, there hadn't really been an artist. I mean, there are a few, like Rhett Walker is an incredible, like he has such a country. Yeah. But there was no artist that really had gone full country, but with Christian lyrics before. Right. And so it was like, I think Christian radio, as they probably should have been, were kind of like taken off by it because they had never heard anything like it, and I do think Christian music in general has more of like a specific sound than just like it being about the message, which was another reason music, it might steer just more pop sounding, just more with pop faith lyrics, which is just not my vibe. You know, like I listen to pop music, but like I don't want to sing it or for it to like sound like that. So I just think in my own like journey, I was like, okay, I need to be authentically who I am, which is being someone who loves Jesus, but I love country music. But I'm not like compromising. I'm not, gonna say I'm gonna write all these songs about whiskey, which I did, but but you're not like watering down your lyrics. Yeah, because some people try to cross over, like they start singing songs where it's like it could be about Jesus or it could be about a boy or like a girlfriend. You know what I mean? Where it's like you. Yeah. And it's like, well, you sounds a little bit ambiguous. And everybody has their own style. Totally. But you weren't about to like change your message to fit into country radio necessarily. Yeah. Right? And I also wasn't going to change my sound to fit into Christian radio. So they would play something more pop sounding because that's just not me. Yeah. And I think when you feel like you're in your calling of what God's called you to do, which is how I feel, it's like he's given me this confidence to walk in it and just to go, this is who I am and I'm not going to apologize for it. And so that's really like what this album is it's me standing firm in who I am. There's nothing that has been compromised in my faith. There's no watered down messaging of Jesus. It's very strong in my faith, but also very country at the same time. 100%. And that's what I'm smiling big as I hear you talking about it, because I remember the moments where that rebel idea was first taking shape and how I could see your, like, it's so fun to be able to talk like this on a podcast where like you and I get to work together with the writing and all those things, and I get to see like your wheels turning and your vision coming to life, and it's so exciting to see, because what you've wound up making is Rebel is a musical statement, but it's also a cultural statement and a spiritual statement. Totally. And I feel like that's why it's like resonating so big with people, because I feel like people want to go like, one of my favorite moments, you did a signing at Walmart in Franklin, Tennessee, and hundreds of people showed up from everywhere, and all these like little girls too. But did you see, I took a picture, I think it sent it to you, our team did, that a girl made a t-shirt and it said, Ann Wilson is my Taylor Swift. Yes, so because cute. We didn't even plan it, but your record came out on the same day as Taylor Swift's. Crazy. And if we could have planned it, we wouldn't have planned that. No. But yeah. I mean, Taylor's records keep getting darker and darker, and the messages of them, like, I mean, she's obviously an incredible artist, but like, I mean, there's a lot of times, I mean, I hear a lot of parents say like, gosh, I don't know if I want my daughters listening to that music, right? It's really dark. So when I saw that little girl's shirt, and Wilson's my Taylor Swift, like, what does that mean to you? Because to me, that says that's a positive role model I can look up to. Ann Wilson's the one I'm looking up to, not Taylor Swift. No offense to Taylor Swift. Yeah. I love when I saw that made my day. And I think it was so crazy that our albums came out the same day. We didn't know that. I mean, she didn't announce hers until after we announced yours. Yeah. Yeah.
So I do think that was a spiritual thing that God was doing between light and dark. And I just think it was, because if you look at lyrics versus lyrics, it's very clear between light and dark. And I think that was really cool. But I also think like when people say that, it's like, that is one of my biggest missions, is to be a good role model for girls. And I think that the whole album of Rebel is stating what it means to be a follower of Jesus in the world that we live in today, which is so rare. Like, it's actually so rare. And when people talk about faith, when we talk about our faith or Jesus, it's like we're almost shoved away. Like, we're not supposed to talk about it.
Or am I going to get canceled? Or,
totally. But then all these other subjects and all these other topics you
you
can talk about and scream it from the rooftops, and you're fine and you're praised. And it's because this world is so sinful that when you're walking with Jesus, it's like we are the outsiders. And so I think especially in my generation and Gen Z, like, there's such brokenness, and I think kids my age feel like they can't talk about their faith, or they don't have faith, or they're like lost in trying to find faith. And I just felt this calling like deep in my bones that like I was supposed to go out into the world and share the message of the gospel. And for me, it was doing it through music, because it's what I do. And so I just felt it. And ever since like this album has come out and stuff, I just keep like, I'll flip open my Bible to a random page, or I'll like see something, and it's this constant like reminder that God keeps showing me through scripture of, I'm calling you to go out into the world and proclaim and share my message with people.
That's it.
And so it's like, you're going to get pushed back. You know, I've already gotten pushed back. You're going to get moments of like doubt. And it's because it's hard to put out a country album that is all about Jesus, because it's not something that, you know, people do. But there's such so many rewarding moments throughout it. And
there's no last night we let the liquor talk on this record.
There's not.
Thank the Lord. But that's the thing.
I love Morgan though.
Of course.
Yeah.
But do you feel like your generation is seeing a spiritual awakening?
I do. I really do.
That song Rebel, to me, I love every song on this record, but there's always been something about Rebel that I feel like is going to be a heart cry for your generation. And just a heart cry for believers who I believe deep down want to be bold in their faith.
Totally.
We're all going to come up against times where we're fearful for standing up and speaking out about our faith. But
Absolutely.
like, I just feel like Rebel's like a, let's go. You know what I mean? Like a heart cry for that. So,
I agree.
But you're seeing that happening in your generation?
Oh yeah. I think for sure. I think my generation is really lost, and they're looking for answers. I think the world in general is like looking and searching, and what is the truth. And Casey Musgraves came out with an album, and there's a song on there that she talks about like, is there an architect?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the architect.
Yeah, like she's searching for like, is there a God? And I think our generation is, and I think they're hungry for truth. That's like good. Real truth. And the real truth is Jesus, and it's found in his word. And I just know that like, I just believe that God's going to use this album, and trusting that he's going to use this album to at least maybe start a conversation, even if it's just like, oh, someone hears Rebel and they go, oh wait, maybe like this is the truth, and maybe I should be a rebel. And then like you said too, like I feel like in Christian culture, we are like the first to go to church, but like when it comes to outside of the church, we're not willing to speak up about our faith because we're embarrassed, or we're nervous, or we're afraid we're going to get judged. But when Jesus comes back and he says to you, like, depart from me, for I never knew you. Like, do you want to live with that? Do you want him to say that? Or do you want him to say like, well done, my good and faithful servant? And so like, for me, that's what drives me. It's like, I'm going to get, you know, like feedback, and people are not going to agree with this album, but at the end of the day, I'm doing it for Jesus.
That goes back to who your audience is.
Yeah. Totally.
That's why you sing songs about Jesus instead of singing songs about whiskey. How excited / nervous were you to have a title, Songs About Whiskey, on the Rebel record? Like, what were the thoughts? I mean, obviously it's a secret. It's a really cool twist of phrase, obviously. Yeah. People don't understand what it's about. Were people asking you before they heard the song, were they worried? Like, what? Ann Wilson. She's gone.
So worried. Like, oh my gosh, the comments on YouTube. She's gone off the deep end. Yeah. Like, I can't believe she's left. Oh, this is so disappointing. My daughter won't be able to listen to this song, and no more Ann Wilson in our house. And then it came out, and people like responded to their own comments on YouTube, and were like, never mind. Like, sorry.
It's amazing.
But I was really nervous. But at the same time, I think I had a moment like a few days before the album where I just was so excited. It's almost like hate comments fuel me to go like talk about Jesus more and to go love people. Like, I just remember like we were writing the song and the album, just like the kind of the fuel behind the fire of going like, I am so tired of like the world and all these like, you know, songs that are about like such horrible messages, and I want to write like positive songs and joyful songs and songs that like are you know, that kids can listen to in the car with their parents. And so like as I was writing the album and all that was coming to shape, I think that continued to fuel me. And so like when you have these hate comments about this song, it's like I knew once they heard it they wouldn't really say
like,
it. Yeah, they'd be like, oh, we get it. But there still are some that are like, oh, I can't believe like this is not a song about Jesus and whatever. But yeah, I think just it honestly has reminded me so much of the Pharisees in the Bible, of how like even the most religious people like completely missed Jesus and were like getting on to him about all these things he was doing to heal people and all the things. And so I think it like scripture has honestly been like at the forefront of my life like never before during this album, of just pushing me to like my goal of like, this is what Jesus had to go through, and we all are going to go through it too, being his followers, you know, just the pushback of what it means to stand for truth.
I feel like every song on your record was an answer to the question, what would a rebel do? We talked about that every time. And I love that. Like, in others, what did Jesus follower do? Like how, and you know, that song's about whiskey. I wanted to highlight that song because one, it's going to be on the radio very soon on country radio, which is exciting. I mean, think about that. What a different message that is. In the midst of, it's just, I can't wait.
I know, same.
To see what people think about that song.
I know, same.
The video is amazing.
Thank you.
We shot it in a bar.
Which
was like your first time in a bar, right? That's pretty cool. But I loved the idea of like, you're taking Jesus everywhere. Right? It's not just in the four walls of a church. That's I think you sent that message by the way you filmed that video. Do you think so?
Totally. I've had a couple of shows since the album came out, and they've been at churches, Baptist churches, and I love like getting to tell everybody like, hey, like, did you see that video? And you know, some of them like have had pushback or whatever on it, but then being able to say like, you know, the Bible calls you to step outside of the church and to go to the world and to share Jesus. And like, that's what that song and that video represents, of like, you can go to a bar and sing about Jesus. You know, it's like, that's what it means to go onto the world. So
how much do you love getting on stage when you're on tour? You're headlining your own tour this fall. Tickets are on sale now. And like,
I'm so excited. We've showed it like, I think 5 shows.
Fast, going fast.
So crazy.
The Rebel Tour's heading out this fall. You're pretty involved in the overall like putting together of the concert too. You're not just somebody who goes up there and sings. You pay attention to all the details. Have you always been like that?
Yes. Detail oriented. I like to like have a plan. I like to check things off my list. I like for things to be like in order.
But the production is like, it's your vision too. So not just the making of the music in the studio or the writing, but to the stage as well. So are you kind of like, this fall can't get here fast enough?
I'm so excited. And I'm very involved like in the production of the album. I think that's one of my favorite parts. And then same with like live show stuff. I love to see a vision come to life. Because when you go to a concert, it's, you know, it's a lot about the songs, but it's also about what you see with your eyes and the movement on stage. And so I'm really passionate about that and getting to work on that. But I think just, you know, my whole 3.5 year career, I've only had one album out. It's crazy. Like I'm singing the same songs. I'm so excited to play new songs, to have like this new kind of vision and like a new stage design and bigger venues that we're headlining this fall, which is crazy. And then too, just being able to, we're playing theaters, and playing
the Ryman in Nashville.
And that was like part of my goal on this album, was to create a place where maybe hard for some people to come to like a church if they've had like a hard like past with the church and a history with that, but they've heard my song on like country radio or something, and they want to come see me. It's like, I want a venue that can kind of have everybody. So
you're involved in even those details, not just the songs, not just the production, but also where you're going to sing and why. So everything is very intentional about this. And I'm so excited about this record, and people seem to be flipping out over it.
Thank
right?
you.
You've got duets with Lainey Wilson, Jordan Davis,
so amazing,
Chris Tomlin on The Cross. And I'm a little bit biased because I also get to be your manager, but I think this is you've outdone yourself here.
Thank you.
People are freaking out.
Well, you wrote 14 out of the 16 songs with me, and people need to know that.
Wow.
You were an integral part of this album.
Just
and
happy to be in the room.
It was so fun to be able to like truly some of my favorite moments that I think back on the album, like all the getting it out to the world and stuff. It's amazing. But my favorite moments are when we created it and when there was no schedule, there was no timeline. We were just in the studio doing writing retreats, just hanging out together with our friends.
It's amazing, wasn't it?
And just writing. Like it was truly like so many sweet moments that happened with you and Jeff and all of our friends that we got to write. I'll never forget it. And
there was such a creative, and you cast this vision for what it means to be a rebel, and like to see the right, like it all for songwriters, like yes, let's go, and it became a heart cry for all of us. And we're about to kind of pull back the curtain very soon. We're working on this series called Rebel in the Making, where people are going to be able to see exactly what you were talking about, like that kind of that sacred space of writing and recording, and you kind of opening that up. You kind of had the cameras rolling the whole time.
We did. That was amazing.
Pretty soon we're going to be announcing how people can watch that weekly series called Rebel in the Making. So this is awesome. I'm so glad to hang with you today.
Too.
It's so funny to ask you questions that I already know the answer to. It's kind of how like when I interview Emily, like my wife or my daughter on the podcast, it's like I'm asking him questions
that you already know. Yeah.
But I just want to leave this question to you, this last question. Like, what are you hoping when somebody is out there listening to these 16 songs on Rebel? What's your prayer? Like, what was the prayer you whispered when you released this album into the world, and it was no longer just yours? It was anybody out there who needed to be encouraged. What's the prayer that you have for what Rebel does and what God does through Rebel in somebody's life?
Yeah, I would say my biggest prayer overall for my music is that God uses it to impact people's lives, whether that's leading them closer to Him, whether that's someone who has lost a loved one and they just need like a message of hope in their life. And I really have been praying specifically for this album that it would almost like give people like a sense of boldness and courage to be able to go out into the world and to spread Jesus, whether that's in their communities or, going to someone like a stranger on the street and telling them about Jesus, whatever that looks like, that it would give people like just this sense of boldness that they could go out and be disciples of Jesus.
Let's go.
And stand up for truth and just to stop compromising with this world, but to stand up for Jesus. So
let's go. And last but not least, you were telling me before we started rolling that you're already ready to start writing some new songs.
I am. I think I am.
I think you should have a Rebel side B. I think
so too. That'd be a good
part
idea.
Two, some more songs maybe?
Yeah, I think we should.
You're not going to stop.
No.
You're on a mission.
We need to start writing now.
Maybe you should say hi to your mom before we end the interview in case she's watching.
Hi, Mom. She'll love this.
Your parents are
she
the
loves
best.
You.
Your family's amazing.
Thank you.
And so the Wilson family, when you go to see Ann Wilson on tour, you might meet the whole family.
Totally. My mom and dad are always with me most
Sometimes
of the time.
You bring your own dog on the road.
Yeah, Annie Oakley.
Yeah. So it's an exciting journey for Ann Wilson. She's just had the most intense season ever releasing this record. And then the whole team lets you go to the beach and get your energy back.
It was so
That's
fun.
kind of a happy place for you, right?
So happy.
You and my wife are the same.
Oh my gosh, I love the beach.
And now, so here beautiful. You go. You're back on the road.
Ready to go. Summer festivals.
Your people, so many people are following you on TikTok and Instagram, but they can find your tour dates at your website.
Yeah.
New Rebel merch is out. It looks sick. I'm wearing the strong shirt. I look pretty cool. I think I'm going to cut the sleeves off since it's a strong shirt.
Yeah.
Show the guns. But and then the tour's on sale now. And no joke, tickets have sold like crazy.
We've sold out,
fast.
I think 5 shows.
5
so
shows
far.
already in like a week.
Yeah.
So people are going to have to get their tickets quickly
Yeah.
to come and see you on the Rebel tour. You're the best.
Thank
Ann
you for
Wilson,
having me.
Thanks for coming back to the Story House.
Thank you so much.
That's our show for today. I want to thank my guest, Ann Wilson, for coming and sharing her story. If that doesn't fire you up, I don't know what will. The reminder of what it looks like to be a rebel. And I love how strong her message is, how strong her faith is, and it makes me want to live my life the same way. How about you? So go make the most of the one shot you get with your life. Be willing to stand up for what you believe in. Don't worry about the world thinks of you. Remember, you have an audience of one, just like Ann reminded us. And ask yourself today, what would a rebel do? It's your story for his glory. I'll see you next week.